All right, let's get into it. Today, we are breaking down the absolute must-know rules of the road for every single commercial driver out there. We're talking about the Department of Transportation's drug and alcohol testing program, a really complex system that's all about one thing: keeping everyone safe.
You know, that's a huge question, right? But a massive piece of the answer starts with this: holding professional drivers to a much, much higher standard than the rest of us, especially when they're doing something the DOT calls a safety-sensitive function.
And that right there is a really key term you have to understand. A safety-sensitive function isn't just putting your hands on the steering wheel. Oh, no. It's loading, it's unloading, it's doing vehicle maintenance, it's even just waiting to be dispatched. Basically, it's any moment where being impaired could lead to an absolute disaster. This idea is the foundation for everything else we're about to talk about. And that higher standard is all wrapped up in one thing: the commercial driver's license, or CDL. You know, getting a CDL is no walk in the park. It takes a ton of skill, a ton of knowledge, and a lot of testing. It's a professional credential, and it means that a driver has met a really high national bar for competence and safety.
Think about the weight of that for a second. The stakes are just incredibly high. For someone with a CDL, a little traffic violation that might just be a ticket and an annoying afternoon for you or me, well, for them, it could literally be the end of their career. The room for error is practically zero.
So, with that high bar set, let's dive into our first section here. Let's look at the specifics of the test itself. What is a standard DOT drug and alcohol screen actually looking for? Because it's not just a random check for anything and everything. Nope, it's a super targeted screen designed to find the exact substances most likely to cause a catastrophe on our highways. The DOT has really zeroed in on a specific list of substances. Why these? Because they're known to just wreck a driver's judgment, their reaction time, and their basic motor skills. I mean, when you're behind the wheel of an 80,000-pound machine, there is absolutely no margin for that kind of impairment. The whole goal here is to screen for these high-risk substances with, surgical precision. And here is that target list. This is the standard DOT 5-panel drug screen, and it's been this way for years for a very good reason. Each one of these 5 categories represents a class of drugs that directly attacks a driver's ability to operate safely. You got marijuana, which slows reaction time, cocaine or amphetamines, which can make a driver aggressive and impulsive, then opiates, and finally phencyclidine, or PCP. These are the big ones the federal regulators are most worried about. It's also really important to know that we're talking about 2 different kinds of tests here. For that 5-panel drug screen, the only method the DOT allows is a urine sample. Why? Because that lets labs see the presence of drug metabolites, which can stick around for a while. But for alcohol, the focus is totally different. They're looking for current impairment. That's why they use a breath or saliva sample for the first screening, and then a full-on breathalyzer test to get a precise reading of blood alcohol concentration. Okay, so we know what they test for, but the regulations are just as specific about when a test is mandatory. And let me be clear, these are not suggestions. These are 5 specific, non-negotiable moments that will trigger a required test. Let's look at how these moments create a whole framework of safety.
So here they are, the big 5: pre-employment, reasonable suspicion, post-accident, random, and return to duty. Each one of these plays a really unique role in keeping our roads safe, from the second a driver gets hired till the very end of their career. So let's break them down one by one. First up, you have the gateway to the job itself, the pre-employment test. This is an absolute must. Before a driver can do a single safety-sensitive function, and remember, that's way more than just driving, they have to come back with a negative drug test. It basically ensures everyone starts with a clean slate and sets the standard for compliance from day one. It's really the first line of defense. Number 2 is reasonable suspicion, and this is where the human element is so important. This is not a gut feeling. It's not a hunch. A supervisor can only order this kind of test if they've been specifically trained to spot the signs and symptoms of drug and alcohol use. They have to see something specific: the driver's appearance, their behavior, their speech, maybe body odors, and, this is crucial, they have to write it all down immediately. This protects everybody, the driver from a false accusation and the company from getting into trouble. It's a big call to make. Third, you've got random testing. And honestly, a lot of people say this is the single most powerful deterrent there is. To make sure it's totally fair, every safety-sensitive driver has to be in a scientifically valid random testing pool. A computer program, not a person, makes the picks, so there's zero bias.
You could get picked 3 times in 1 year, or you could go a few years without being picked at all. It's that total unpredictability that really motivates a driver to stay clean all year long. Number 4 is the return to duty test. This is the path back for a driver who's had a violation. So if a driver fails a test or refuses to take one, their career isn't automatically over. But there's a very strict, very structured process they have to go through with a certified substance abuse professional, or SAP. It involves evaluations, education, maybe treatment, and the very last step, the final gate before they can even think about getting back behind the wheel, is passing this test with a negative result while being directly observed. And that brings us to number 5. The most time-sensitive, the most high-pressure, and let's be honest, the most logistically chaotic trigger of them all, the post-accident test. Now, this isn't required for every little fender bender. It's only triggered by very specific, very serious types of accidents that are all clearly defined by the DOT. Okay, so let's zoom in on this post-accident situation, because this is where all the rules and regulations meet the messy, chaotic reality of an emergency. This is where the pressure is really on for employers, for safety managers, and for the drivers. Because the second that accident happens, a clock starts ticking. So, after an accident that qualifies, an employer has just 8 hours. 8 hours to get an alcohol test done. Now, that might sound like a decent amount of time, but just picture it. The driver could be hurt, the truck could be in the middle of nowhere, it's probably the middle of the night. That 8-hour window can slam shut really, really fast. And that clock is also ticking for the drug test. You get a little more breathing room here, but the drug test has to be finished within 32 hours. And here's the kicker. If an employer misses either of these deadlines, they have to write down exactly why. And let me tell you, we couldn't find a collector is not an excuse the DOT wants to hear. Just imagine the chaos. You get that phone call at 2 in the morning. Your driver's shaken up, maybe even hurt. First, you have to figure out if the accident even meets the DOT criteria for a test. Then you're dealing with the police, securing the scene, and all the while, you're desperately trying to find a certified collector who can come to you right now. It is a logistical nightmare. And this is where technology is just changing everything. I'm talking about solutions like the patented Ready Collect app, which was designed for this exact crisis. The app can actually help you determine if a test is even required, which cuts out a lot of that initial stress. Then, instead of calling number after number, you just use the app to request a collector. It taps into a whole network in real time and gets you an unprecedented response time. You get status reports, geofence tracking of the collector. It turns that chaos into a controlled, documented process, which can make a huge difference in your company's overall safety score. And that brings me to you. We really want to hear from the people who are actually dealing with this stuff. If you're a safety manager or a business owner, what's the biggest headache you've had with post-accident testing? Is it the timeline? Is it just finding a reliable collector in the middle of the night? Drop a comment below and share your story. And for all you drivers out there, we'd love to hear your side too. What's going through your head in those moments after an accident? Now, what's really fascinating is that just passing these 5 types of tests is only one piece of a much, much bigger safety puzzle. You can have a driver pass every single test, but if the system around them is broken, you're still not truly compliant. It's about building an entire culture of safety.
And that is the absolute key takeaway. To really be compliant, to be ready for a DOT audit at any moment, you have to build a complete system. It has to be proactive, not just reactive. It's all about preventing incidents in the first place, not just testing after they happen.
And that culture really stands on 4 main pillars. These are not optional. First, you need a crystal clear workplace policy that every single employee has read, understood, and signed off on. Think of it as your company's safety constitution. Second, you have to have ongoing supervisor training. We talked about this for reasonable suspicion. Your frontline managers absolutely must have the tools to make that call correctly. Third, you've got to manage your random testing pool perfectly, making sure it's always compliant. And finally, you have to be fully enrolled and using the federal DOT clearinghouse. The clearinghouse is this secure online database where all violations are reported. It makes it impossible for a driver to hide a violation by just getting a new job. These 4 things together are what create a real ecosystem of safety. We really hope this explainer helps clear up the pretty complex world of DOT drug and alcohol testing. As you can see, it's a system with a lot of layers, but they all have one single goal: keeping our roads safe for every single one of us. If you were inspired with this video, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rita Collect. Feel free to share this video as well. Thank you.